Hey, what's up everyone? My name is Landi Potombela and welcome to my financial education channel. In today's video, I want to be talking about exactly the process that you should follow when you want to purchase your first investment property, right? So the process in which before you own it to the transfer process until you own the property as well in terms of how to manage it. Now, please remember that when you're purchasing an investment property, it's not the same process as when you're purchasing your home, because the purchase of a home is more of an emotional process, and then purchase of an investment property is more of an objective process. It's numbers based, it's based on things that you can see, and it's very objective. So please keep that in mind, right? With that being said, please note that this video is not in any form financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just purely giving my opinion. This is for educational and entertainment purposes only, right? So think about this. You want to purchase your first investment property. Now, the example I'm going to be taking you through is going to be assuming that you're using bank financing, right? So you want to purchase your first investment property. What do you need to do? You first need to go and get pre-qualified. Get pre-qualified at the bank so that you actually understand how much do you qualify for. There's no point in going out to view properties if you don't even know how much you qualify for. You could, I guess, go start viewing properties that cost R1 million, R2 million, R3 million, but that wouldn't necessarily be with the intention of buying. I think it would just be for you and your own pleasure. Yeah, but I know we all do it at some point. We go through one of the famous property website, maybe Property 24, and we start browsing through all these expensive houses and seeing how you don't like the kitchen, or you don't like the bathroom, or how this and that could be better. We all do it at some point, but this now is specifically speaking to someone who has the intention of purchasing a property and purchasing the property for an investment, right? So go get pre-qualified, find out how much you qualify for. Once you've done that, start saving up money, right? Start saving up money, because you're gonna need some money up front so that you can pay some of the closing costs. Even if you are getting a 100% bond with the bank, you're still gonna need to pay fees such as your transfer duty. So your transfer duty is a fee that is only applicable if you are purchasing a property that is above R1 million, and it goes on a sliding scale. So the higher the value of the property, the more the transfer duty will be. Kind of like tax, the more you get paid, the more you get taxed. It's the exact same principle with transfer duty. And this transfer duty, I guess, works very well as well, because there is money that is going directly to SARS. And then you have your transfer fees that are going to the conveyances that are doing the actual transfer, doing the whole process for you. So you need to pay them before the property transfers into your name, unless I guess you come to some sort of arrangement with them. However, they are going to want their money up front as well. So you need to save up some of this money so that you can know exactly, so that you don't have any problems and have no delays in terms of transferring. And then if you are having the property registered with the bank, it's gonna need bond registration fees, right? So you're gonna need to pay those bond registration fees, which is to another set of attorneys who are basically registering the bond in your name. Don't ask me why you have to pay them. I do not know why you have to pay them. I'm sure a lawyer could explain that to you, but I do know that for registering the property with the bond originators, they're gonna have to you're gonna have to pay them, right? You're gonna have to pay them. What you can do, what some banks do allow, is that they can allow you to capitalize those costs onto your bond. So if you're purchasing a house, let's say that is worth 500,000 rand, and let's assume the bond registration costs are 30,000 rands, then they can capitalize that onto your bond, and then you in essence are now paying 500. Well, basically your bond is now 530,000 rand instead of it being 500,000 rand. So that's if you don't have the money and the bank is willing to do that for you, right? So now that you've got pre-qualified, and now that you after getting pre-qualified, you've now also saved up the money so that you can actually purchase this property, I want you to go out and view as many properties as you possibly can. Go out and view properties so that you can have a really good understanding of the different properties in the area in which you wish to purchase. Don't just view the first property you see and you like it and then purchase it, because then you really are missing out on the potential bargains that could be out there, and even better homes at a better price than the one that you viewed and fell in love with on day one. So definitely view as many properties as you possibly can, and view the property more than once. If you have an intention of really buying it, then I would recommend that you view the property sometime during the day, sometime in the afternoon. So maybe in the morning and in the afternoon, and maybe even once during the weeks, just so that you can have a general understanding of the area in which you're really going to be purchasing a property. So you can also have an understanding of the people in that area. Is it a safe area? You'll be able to tell this by just driving through the area in the afternoon, in the mornings, and also viewing the property in the morning, viewing it in the afternoon, just so that you can make sure you are sure about the house that you are going to be purchasing as an investment, right? If you're intending to hold this for a really long period of time, you don't want to make a bad decision. So view as many houses as possible, and once you think you found the house that you want to purchase, view it more than once. There's no agents that's going to say no to you for viewing a property more than once that you are interested in purchasing, because in essence then they'd be saying no to the commission. So that's not going to happen at all. And when you are viewing, what I want you to do is to look out for any structural damages or any damp. So this is now saying the property might have a crack on the wall. Start questioning how deep that crack is and how serious that crack is. Start looking out for as many things as possible that are not okay with the property, because this can help you firstly to negotiate a lower price, because you can use all the snags that you identify: broken cupboards, broken this, broken that, scratch here, scratch there. You can use that in your negotiation to negotiate a lower price. And also it can actually maybe deter you from purchasing the property, because if it is a structural damage, then you might not necessarily want to purchase the property, because it's going to cost so much to fix it up that it's definitely not going to be worth it. So don't even waste your time on those unless you do have the appetite for that, and you do have the money in terms of repairs and repairing all those snags that you identify. Then definitely go for it. However, I would say that if it's your first investment property, do not do that, because you don't have the experience in that, and you don't want to make stupid mistakes on a big project like fixing structural damage, especially since you don't know any reliable builders and that, right? So just try go as simple as possible for your first investment property. Once you think you've found the property that you want to purchase, what you need to do is to run the numbers. Remember, I mentioned earlier that it is an investment. It is an objective investment that you are making. It's not an emotional purchase. So it's not like when you're purchasing your home where you say, I really love this, I really love that, I really like the curtains, how they look like this, like the paving. It's not about what you like. When you're making an investment, it's not about whether you would live there or whether you wouldn't live there. It's not about whether you like this or whether you like that. It's all about, would someone else live there? It's all about, would someone else live there, in terms of is it in a decent condition enough for someone else to live in, and also is there even a potential for you to make money, considering the area, considering the rentals in the area, your repayments. So let's just break it down briefly in terms of the numbers, what you need to look at, right? So you need to look at the rental income that you could potentially receive. This is an amount that you could easily ask the estate agent, which is probably going to be a lie, if I'm going to be honest with you. Okay, some estate agents are trying to make the sale, remember? So they might not always be truthful to you with the intention of making the sale. So maybe market rentals in the area are like 6,000 Rand. They might tell you 7,000 Rand just because they want to make the sale, and they're going to be gone, and you're going to deal with this property alone, remember, once they're gone. So I wouldn't say always rely on the estate agents. Not every single estate agent is going to lie to you, but take whatever they say with a pinch of salt. Okay, so do your own research. Look at other property websites, ask neighbors, ask other people who are living in the area, how much are they paying for rent, so that you can have a real understanding of what is the rental income in this area, what can I expect for a 2-bedroom, let's assume you're purchasing a 2-bedroom house. So you can have an expectation to say, okay, 2 bedrooms in this area on average cost 7,000 Rand. Once you've done that, you now need to understand completely what are your bond costs going to be. With the interest rates that you have got when you got pre-qualified, right? So you will have an idea of how much you'll have an idea of how much you qualify for, and potentially even at what interest rates you might get it at. So then start doing that and seeing, is the amounts that I'm going to be getting in terms of my rental income going to be more than the bond amount? And if the answer is no, then immediately the deal doesn't make sense, right? The deal doesn't make sense. You need to be making money from day one. And don't only look at the bond costs. There's also levies. So if it's in a flat or an estate or some sort of gated community, it's gonna have levies. So have a look at the levies as well as part of the costs that you'll be incurring to basically own this property. And don't forget the rates and taxes that are to be paid to your municipality. So your city of Joburg or wherever in the country where you're from, you're gonna be having to pay those costs as well. And then set aside potential repairs and maintenance and vacancy costs on the side as well. So repairs and maintenance is not necessarily a cost that comes out of your pockets every month. However, it is good to just put aside some money for repairs and maintenance in the future, as well as it's also good to really put aside money for something like vacancies, because your property is not going to be fully occupied throughout the entire year. So make sure that you are fully prepared for whenever you don't have a tenant and your property doesn't become a burden at that time. I have made a video detailing a bit more on the numbers and how to run the numbers. So if you are interested in a bit more of that, you can check it out in one of my other videos in the playlist for property investing, right? So the next stage, once you've ran the numbers and the numbers make sense, you're making a profit on a monthly basis. I explain this because you can't bank on capital appreciation. So if you're someone who's been following me for a while, you know that I always say capital appreciation should always be a bonus and not what you are banking on. And your cash flow, your monthly cash flow, is what you need to be making on a monthly basis. So assuming it's 1,000 rands, let's say, even if it's a 500 rand, it is okay, but at least at a minimum, you need to be making a profit. If you are interested more in that, head over to the playlist on property investing. You'll see more detail on it there, right? So once you've got this property, you need to negotiate. You need to negotiate, and you're negotiating using the snags that you identified in the property. So wherever there is repairs that needs to be made, this is not necessarily a bad thing. This is just ammunition, and it's giving you ammunition basically to be able to negotiate a low price. Negotiating a lower price because you need to fix 1, 2, 3, the cupboards, the sink, the bathtub is broken, the windows are broken. All these things are things that you're going to mention to the seller or the agent in your negotiation to say you cannot pay 500,000 rands for this property because of the condition that it's in. And if the property is in spick-spark condition, like it's really in really good condition, then there's not much negotiating you can do, but definitely still try and negotiate. And what are you negotiating to? You have to put in an offer on this property that is listed for 500,000, assuming, right? You need to put in an offer that is going to make you embarrassed. If you're not embarrassed about the offer that you're making, then you're offering too much for that property. That is just my personal opinion. Hit me up in the comments below if you disagree with that, or if you have any other negotiating tactics or tips that you could potentially give to the community. I would definitely appreciate that, and I'd actually like to learn a few more tips myself. But definitely always make an offer you are embarrassed about so that you can work your way up from that offer. So if you are making an offer of 450 on a property that's listed for 500,000, you're not really giving much room to work your way up because it's only a 50,000 rand discount. However, if you come in and say 300,000 rands on a property that's listed for 500,000, automatically maybe now you're working your way up in negotiating from 300,000 and not working your way up from 450. So that's just something I've realized, and you should always make sure you negotiate. And if you're not getting the numbers that you want, move on. It is okay. Not every deal is gonna be a success, and it is okay if it's not a success. You just need to move on. At the end of the day, there's so many properties that are out there that are listed. There's so many motivated sellers. Don't be a motivated buyer. Right? Be a patient buyer and find yourself a motivated seller so that you can leverage their motivation to your advantage. I'm not saying take advantage of someone's unfortunate situation, whatever their motivation is. However, at the end of the day, this is life, and in life you need to think about yourself, and you need to think about the potential profits that you could make when you are thinking of investing in property, because you're not donating, you are investing. Okay, so once this is done, all of this is complete now, you need to sign the offer to purchase, right? So you're signing the offer to purchase, which is basically the agreement between you and the seller, saying that you're agreeing to purchase this property for 500,000 rands, or whatever amount that you have negotiated. You're agreeing to purchase it for this amount, and you take that offer to purchase and you take it to your bank. When you take it to the bank, and now you need to be as efficient as possible. Be as quick as possible in terms of responding to the lawyers, in terms of responding to the bank with whatever documents that they require from you, because the transfer process is a process that takes like 3 months. So you don't want to delay that process even further, or because you weren't submitting a clear ID photo of yourself. Do you see that that is such a waste of time? And it could delay you for such a long time for absolutely no reason. You not having the money up front to pay all the fees that you need to pay could potentially delay you as well. So from your side, make sure that there's absolutely nothing that is delaying the process, and you're submitting all the information that is necessary swiftly and as soon as possible. And then after a period of time, let's say 3 months, the property will register into your name, and bang, you're now a property owner, you own the property, you've gone through the purchasing phase, and now you need to find a tenant. Now the headache starts, right? Now the real headache starts, where you need to find a tenant, manage the property, manage the tenant. And that's what I'm going to take you through briefly right now as well. So make sure before you even start looking to find a tenant that you've thought about whatever needs to be fixed in the property, because you don't want your tenant to move into a property that is damaged or that's not painted, especially if it's your first property, your first investment property. Now, like, put a bit of heart and pride into it and actually fix up whatever needs to be fixed in the property, be it the cupboards, the tiling, be it anything and everything that is damaged that's not okay with the property. Make sure that you are fixing that, you are repainting, so that it looks fresh, it looks clean, and it looks brand new, because to you it is brand new, and to any new potential tenants it will be a new environment as well. Once you fixed up the property, what you simultaneously would ideally be doing is to attract a tenant. You need to attract a tenant so that you can actually have a tenant. And how do you attract them? By taking quality photos of the property, which is why preferably it should be in good condition already. Alternatively, you basically get a camera person, or just use your own cameraman or camerawoman, and use them to take pictures, or pull out your phone and take pictures of the property, preferably as high quality as possible, so the property will look attractive, right? Then start promoting the property. You can use many different avenues in terms of promoting the property. You can promote it on Gumtree, you can use Facebook ads, word of mouth, you can put up posters, whatever means in which you know how to promote your property, so that you can so that it can actually gain traction and people can come in for viewings. That's what you want to do. And then when you are viewing the property now, because once you have attracted the potential tenants, they're going to come in and view the property. What you want to do is you want to take them through the property and make sure that you are on time, make sure that you are available for whenever it is that a potential tenant wants to view a property. Make yourself available, or someone else at least available, and be polite, be kind, be honest with them in terms of how much the rent is, the deposit is, and whatever other fees in which you wish on charging will be on the property, whether you provide Wi-Fi or not. Be honest in that regard, because if you're not, that's going to create a really big problem for you and your tenants off the bat when you start renting out the property to them. So do the viewing, be on time, do the viewing, sell the property to them. Okay, that's one thing you need to do. At the end of the day, you want them to move in, so sell the property to them. Make them want to move in. Tell them all the great things about the environment, the area around, the amenities, that they will get all the benefits that they'll get as being your tenants if you are providing free Wi-Fi, if you're not charging for water and everyone else is charging for water. Whatever the case may be for you specifically, make sure that you are selling that to the tenants. Okay, so now once you've found this person that potentially might want to move into your apartment or into your house, make sure you screen them appropriately. Make sure, I would like to say that I want my tenant to earn at least 3 times the amount of rent that I'm going to be charging. So if I'm charging 6,000 rands rent, they must at least earn 18,000 rands. So make sure that you have whatever metric that you choose to use to decide whether they can afford to live in the property, and it's not going to be an issue. Ask them for their pay slip to confirm how much they get paid. Match their pay slip to the bank statement, to their 3 months bank statement, to see that the pay slip, the money is actually coming into their bank account every single month. You'll be surprised how many people say they earn 20,000 rands and then they show you a pay slip of 20,000 rands, and then you ask for the bank statements and the money is not showing to be coming in as 20,000 rands on a monthly basis. There are a lot of shady things that are happening out here, and you can't prevent everything. There's always going to be a way in which you can be tricked and fooled. However, you need to try prevent it as much as possible. Okay, so that's what I would do. Match the payslip to their bank statements, and also just perform a credit check on them, right? Make sure you're screening them properly and performing the necessary credit checks on them to make sure that they aren't someone who's historically a delinquent tenant, historically delinquent in terms of paying back their debts in general. That's what I would definitely say you must do in the process of screening your tenants. You can alternatively have this process done by an estate agent. They'll charge you a fee for it, of course, but you can have the entire tenant placing process done by an estate agent, from looking for the tenant, placing the tenant, doing the inspections, managing the property for you. They'll charge you a certain percentage of the rental amount, and to place the tenant, they'll charge you usually the first month's rent. But definitely you can use an estate agent. It gets rid of the headache completely. However, if you do prefer doing it yourself, you can absolutely do it yourself and you don't have to pay any fees. It's just that if you don't do it properly, then you actually you're at a risk, right? But on the other side, I look at it and I'm like, the estate agent's always protecting themselves as well. You sign an agreement with them, and if they don't do their job properly, they're basically saying it's not my fault. And I believe that's bullshit, but hey, it is what it is. That's how the agreements are structured. The estate agents are more qualified than you to manage the property and manage tenants and following up on receiving rentals. So if you do not want a headache, then definitely go for the estate agent route. However, if you want to learn from this process, I would recommend that you do it yourself and make mistakes, because it is your first investment property. You'll make mistakes and you'll learn quickly from them. So now once you've screened your tenants and you're happy with the potential tenant that you're going to have, you need to sign the lease agreement. The lease agreement that is stipulating clearly how much the deposit is, how much your rental is, when the rent is due, what cost the tenant is responsible for, and all of that. So don't just download a lease agreement from the internet and use it. This is where I guess it really helps to have an estate agent, because then they will likely provide a lease agreement for you. Now, if you don't have a lease agreement, contact a lawyer who can help you to draw up a lease agreement. I would definitely not say do it yourself, because you're not a lawyer. You don't know all the necessary inputs that go into a lease agreement. And honestly, I don't know all the necessary inputs that need to be going into a lease agreement as well. So I can't even advise you and tell you step by step what you should include. But I definitely do know the basics, such as the deposits, the cost that you're responsible for, the rental amount, what the landlord is responsible for, and all of that, right? So definitely get it done professionally, and sign the lease agreement before the tenant moves in. And when the tenant moves in, do a moving in inspection. This is going to help you to identify anything that is broken, help you to identify any cracks or anything that could potentially piss you off when the tenant moves out, and if you didn't know about it. Because the worst thing that could happen is when the tenant moves in, the cupboards aren't broken, but when the tenant moves out, the cupboards are broken, and then the tenant is saying to you, no, the cupboards were broken when I moved in, and you don't have an inspection sheet that you filled in and that both of you signed to say that all cupboards in the house are fixed and are working properly, right? So just make sure that you do the moving in inspection and tick off all the things that are working and tick off all the things that aren't working. Make sure the tenant signs, make sure you sign it as well, and they sign in front of you and you sign in front of them as well, so that there's no confusion about exactly what state the house or the apartment is in. Once the tenant has now moved in, you'll need to start collecting rentals. Now you need to start collecting rent on the first day of every month, making sure that rent is in your bank account. And if ever the rent is not in your bank account by the first, you need to follow up with your tenant immediately, right? Follow up with them immediately so that it doesn't get to a stage where they get comfortable in paying their rent late. That is not okay. And if they do get comfortable in doing that, then that means that they are not prioritizing their rent payments, which is not a good thing for you as a landlord. So make sure that a tenant is prioritizing paying rent and paying rent on time. This now also brings up a responsibility on your side to make sure that any snags and anything that is wrong with the apartment or the house that you're renting out, whenever the tenant does complain, you are very efficient and quick in getting the matters fixed. It is unacceptable, for example, the geyser to burst and then you as a landlord are taking a month to get that fixed. Right, so you definitely cannot do that, because you're gonna have an unhappy tenant. And what happens when your tenant is unhappy? Likely they're gonna want to move out, or they're gonna skip rent and say, I'm not paying rent until you fix the geyser. Yes, they don't have a right to do that, but reality, they will do that. They won't pay rent until you get the geyser fixed. Right, so definitely make sure you have a happy tenant and you have a relationship with your tenant where it is transparent and is an honest conversation that you are having at all times with regards to any difficulties they might be having financially, so that you can be understanding as possible and you can know about those problems as quickly as possible, so that if there's a plan that can be made, it can be made as soon as possible as well. So transparency is very important, and your efficiency in terms of getting things fixed, repaired and maintained around the house, around the apartment, is very key and very important to having a happy tenant. You don't want to have turnover every single year of a tenant, which is, yes, very possible, but preferably you'd like to have your tenant staying in your apartment or in your house for at least 2 years, so that you don't have to chop and change tenants and trying to find a good tenant every single time, because best believe me, it really is difficult to find a good paying tenant, a tenant who pays on time and does not give you any problems. Right, so this is just my opinion, guys. Again, if you do have any comments or you have any other considerations that you think I might have left out, definitely hit me up in the comments below. And if you are interested more in about rentals and managing a property, there's a book by David Beale, if I'm not mistaken, The Expert Landlord. Is a South African author. Just make sure you check out that book. It's a really good book. I read it quite a while ago, and it actually helped me to realize that there's so many things that I was missing in terms of my tenant placing process that I didn't understand completely. And once I read that book, I completely understood, and some of the legal side of things as well, because there are a lot of things that are regulated in the rental market, and if you don't know as a landlord, you might find yourself in a bit of trouble. The law does favor the tenant, unfortunately it does not favor you as a landlord. So yeah, definitely have a read on that book. It'll talk to you about things about eviction, such as if your tenant is not paying rent, you can't just tell them to piss off. It doesn't work that way. You can't tell them to move out of the house because they're not paying. You need to go through an official and a proper eviction process, which is a process that takes a while, which is a process that is costly as well, and you don't want to find yourself in that situation. However, I do believe that a good tenant, no tenant, is better than a bad tenant. Not sure if that makes sense, but not having a tenant in your place, you'll have the peace of mind to know that your property is not being damaged, as compared to having a bad tenant where your tenant is not paying rent and they are damaging your property. That is even worse, and you have no say in terms of kicking them out. Can't go there and drag them out. That is illegal. You can't just do that. Okay, so definitely, if you are interested more, check out that book and hit me up in the comments below. Like the video, subscribe to my channel, guys. Appreciate you being here for so long in this video, and I really hope that it's been helpful. I'll check you in my next video. Stay safe. Cheers.